Hi, Bonnie. This film's for you. This is about Eric Berne's Voices, a communication model that I shared with you and Damon briefly in your office. So, Berne's co- Berne's communication model is all about reflecting on our own speech and then recognizing that in others. Is what you're saying or hearing, is it a voice of respect and resolution, or is it a voice of disrespect and conflict? Oftentimes, we communicate in the ways that we communicate, right? We don't have that camera that follows us around and gives us feedback on how we sound to other people. So if you see, along with the link to this video came a link to two documents, right? The one document just has examples of what these voices sound like. And then the other document is actually a worksheet. So it's certainly something if you wanted to do with your staff, um, you could do, and they could play with the worksheets. But right now, this is just to make clear what I mentioned in your office. So, Eric Berne, his communication model is within us. We have three voices with which we can communicate. We develop a child's voice, we develop an adult voice, and if we're lucky, we develop an adult voice. But just because some people have reached the age of adulthood or senior citizenship doesn't mean they developed an adult voice. So if you look on this slide behind my head, you'll see that's representative of two people, right? Child voice, parent voice, adult voice, and then child voice, parent voice, adult voice. When you looked at that document, you saw it, positive child voice, positive parent voice will never get you in trouble, right? A positive child is someone who's silly, joyful, very curious. That's not going to cause a conflict. A positive parent voice is one voice that's supportive, caring. How can I help? A lot of respect in that, right? Um, we get into what causes conflicts is when we either knowingly or unknowingly use a negative child or negative parent voice. And that's, you're looking at that on that document, right? A negative child is someone who whines, complains, plays the victim. I can't possibly be responsible for anything I do. I'm sure you know some people like that. And then there's the negative parent, which you see in front of you. This is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do, right? And I always bring this to educators' attention because as many educators, right, we were born to help. That's why we're in the profession we're in. So many of us think, oh, if I see something that I learned a while ago, like a teacher telling another teacher, oh, yeah, I had that student last year. Here's how you should handle him. Did you hear it? Right. What is that? It makes it sound like I know everything and this teacher doesn't know anything. So I'm going to tell you what you should do. That doesn't mean if I learn something about this kid, I shouldn't share it with the current teacher, but I can probably share that information in a way that's more respectful. All right, so those are our voices. Now, here's what happens in communication. If someone uses their negative child voice, right? They're whining, they're blaming, oh, woe is me. There's a black cloud. Nothing ever goes my way. Now I have to do that, right? What you elicit in the other person is their negative child. So you have two 60-year-olds whining and complaining to each other, or you elicit their negative parent. And here's this negative child going on whining and whining, like telling you why they can't make it to work on time or why they need this, whatever, right? And they tend to be whiny anyway. And if you're not in the best frame of mind, that whininess can trigger your negative parent, right? And then you can be, well, that's not the way we're doing it around here, right? That we lose our, what's the word I'm looking for? Our something conversation, right? That niceties that we do. Now, when someone uses their negative parent, right? And again, teachers find themselves here sometimes because they think they're helping, but meanwhile, they're coming across like pretty disrespectful. So when someone uses their negative parent, they can elicit someone's negative child, negative parents coming down on them, why they have to do it this way. And the negative child is whining and complaining, and it's not fair. No one else has to do it, that kind of voice. Negative parent to negative parent is marriage counseling 101. And this is Gottman's research now. So negative parent, I come into my house, right? And you know what teachers look like coming into the house. You have a bag on one shoulder, bag on another, a bunch of books in your hand. I walk in my door and there's my husband, left his shoes out again, I trip over his shoes. So I go right into negative parent. Jesus Christ, you're trying to kill me. You say you care, but you don't care. I've asked you about these shoes 1,000. Right? And then, but what should I know? Your mother was a slob, so of course you're going to be a slob, right? Yeah, I played the mother card, right? And then the husband comes back. Well, you're so anal. I should have known when I went to your parents' house and they had plastic on their furniture, right? We go back and forth and back and forth. That relationship is not going to last very long, right? When we use our adult voice, what we're doing is we're either eliciting that adult voice in the other person, or if they don't have one, because you see, the adult voice is asking questions, right? So if I was raised in a house where I was told what to do, and then if I go to school where compliance is pretty much top of the charts for what we're looking for, then I may have only mostly heard a negative parent voice. So that's all I've had the opportunity to develop. But you see, the adult voice is coming from a very respectful place. And just as an aside, what I saw is your teacher's communication to the students is one of respect. On some of the campuses, I see the teachers actually kind of do the work for the kids. Your teachers just keep asking questions to draw that information out of the kids. That's a very respectful place from which to be. So here's what we know right now. These are public. This is the research done in public schools in like 2006, 7, the early 2000s. But I think it's very telling, right? So the parent voice will stop behavior, right? And with some of the boys, like if they're going to fight, you're not going to say, oh, gee, what's one thing we can do differently, right? You're going to use that parent voice. But the parent voice will stop behavior. It's never going to change it. When you work with your students, when your child study team members work with their students, it's always in the adult voice, right? But as I keep saying, many adults don't have an adult voice. Here's Burns' research. 80% of discipline referrals out in the publics come from 11% of the staff. And that's staff that tend to be disrespectful to the students, addressing them in that negative parent. And here, if these boys were addressed with a negative parent, often it would take them no time to spiral off. When we want behavior to change, and I know you don't have a lot of behavioral issues, but learning is a behavior change. It requires that we ask a lot of questions, right? So, along with this link are those two documents. I hope this has made what you're looking at more clear and you have a good understanding of Burns' voices.